Here we are live. It's Tuesday, Productivity Tuesday, Two for Tuesday. We're going to have a special guest on here just momentarily. Killer K Rail. He's already in the green room. I can see him in the background, and we're going to get straight to it here in a second. I talked about my morning routine, and I was really inspired by Miracle Mornings, and a lot of you may have seen that book by Hal Elrod, and it has silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing are the things that the most successful people over history have done, and he combined all those things together. Well, one of the things I do is I add in my morning routine breathing exercises, and I start with that. Then I go into silence or meditation, and then there's a cold shower involved with mine. So those are the things. I don't normally learn by reading, so I listen to videos or a podcast. Or shows like this, live shows, so I can learn more from there. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Kevin there, and I'm going to, hey, Kevin,
how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Terrific.
Here, let's try this. Oh, look at that template there. Look at that. Yeah.
I don't see
so.
Oh, that's well, nice. There it is.
Yeah. So, hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Day's off to a great start early in the week. I like to mash it early in the week when a lot of people go into startle reflex. It's totally not my jam at all.
Right. Yeah, Mondays are people are 20% more likely to have a heart attack on Mondays than any other day of the week.
Really?
Right. Yeah. And so it's the stress, right? It's the stress of it.
And it's also a fact that I believe at 6 p.m. that people are more likely to have a heart attack as well due to the circadian rhythms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's 6 p.m. I have an actual graph that shows all of the risk and reward of the daily grind. Like at 3 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you're at your highest level of fitness. So cardio, I think, is strongest at 3, and strength is strongest at 4 to 6, something like that. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, that's on the average person, but for me, it's first thing in the morning. And it's opportune that we're talking about morning rituals, because that's we'll get to that in a second.
Right. Yeah. The thing is that, we all have different sleep types. I don't know if you've heard of the work of Michael Breus. He's the sleep doctor. Okay. And he wrote a book called The Power of When. And you were just naming out these things, right? And we've all heard of early birds, which I think you're a classic early bird, right? You're up and moving. And he calls that a lion. And because a lion has their first kill before dawn, right? And I think you've worked out twice in a fasted state before lunch time even hits, right? Yeah. Yeah, usually, yeah. And, left on my own, I'm more of a night owl, which what he calls a wolf, right? I'm going to stay up a little bit later. I'm going to eat later. And I answered that question in your group the other day. What time do you eat, last meal? And I know you recommend 7 o'clock, and I'm eating around 8:30, 9 o'clock, the last things I have. But I would prefer to go to bed later, right? Mm-hmm. And so he has all these things laid out, like, for my sleep type, I'm going to perform the best working out around 6 o'clock. But every sleep type, which are lion, wolf, then there's dolphin, which is like this almost insomnia type person that really have that. And then a bear, which bears run, they're 55% of their bears, which are more of a mid part of the day, right? Where they get up, they kind of follow the sun more than like you get up before the sun. I go to bed really late, right? Mm-hmm. And but like all sleep types, the best way to burn fat is to work out within 30 minutes of getting up, right? So it's really, really interesting stuff, with that. So, I want to catch up. How's your arm doing? I know you wrecked a mountain bike, and tell me how you doing. How you feeling?
My arm is feeling about 90%, I would say. I did a really awesome high intensity circuit core workout this morning, and I was able to do a lot of drills with one arm on the floor, such as a 3-point squat thrust combination, which I like. And I was doing some wild things, and I was doing a lot of one-handed supported kettlebell drills and stuff like that. So I really tested it out this morning, and I was able to do everything. So
wow.
It's not 100% as far as like the pain is completely gone, and I still don't have 100% range of motion, full extension, but I'm getting closer every day, and I'm able to do all those things that I was concerned I wouldn't be able to do. And I'm super thrilled about that. So I'm back in the game and really nothing's really off limits right now, I would say.
Right. And I interviewed you for my podcast, Modern Longevitarian Podcast, like days after that happened, or the next day. Yeah. But then, and I just, for the people who are going to see this, I want you're so, I mean, you and I are so similar, right? But the first thing you did was you started fasting, right? You did a 72-hour fast when you had a broken bone.
Days.
4 days. Yeah. Water fasted for 4 days with a broken bone, right? So tell us why you would do that. And then we'll get into productivity, but I thought this was super interesting.
Well, the first thing in my mind when I got home from the accident and I was barely able to take a shower and I was barely able to move my arm, I was kind of in shock. I'm like, what's going to happen next? I still need to work out. What could I work out and blah, blah, blah. Even if it's just walking, I'm going to do something every day. I already made the decision that I was going to do that. But then I said to myself, how can I get this thing healed as fast as possible? And I'm pulling out all the stops. So I'm like, without even thinking twice, I'm like, my arm was swollen. My wrist was swollen at the time. My hand was all swollen. Like it was jacked up. I knew something was bad happened to my arm. And I'm like, well, I'm getting rid of this inflammation. I'm going to eat tonight. I'm going to have a meal. Tomorrow I'm going to eat. And then I'm starting a fast Sunday after my second meal is over. And I'm fasting for 4 days. And there's no questions about it. Nothing. So that's what I started with. I'm like, I need to get rid of this inflammation. The fastest way to do that is through fasting. So on day 2 of my fast, that's when I noticed the biggest switch had flipped. And that's when I do believe I was starting to hit autophagy already. Usually it takes anywhere from 40 to 48 hours for autophagy to start kicking in. But someone who's like already lean, already eats well, does time restricted eating all the time, or some kind of intermittent fasting protocol can hit autophagy usually around 24 hours if they just go right, into a strict fast. And I mean, there's schools of thought out there that you can scratch autophagy after like 16 hours of fasting, working out in fasted state over time, which I also have done for like eternity, 12 hours, I'm sorry. So like, I know I was hitting autophagy. For those of you that don't know, autophagy is when your body starts breaking down dead cells or junk cells it doesn't need, and it utilizes those for energy because your body's not stupid. It preserves the good cells and it gets rid of the bad cells. Autophagy, or autophagia, as some people call it, literally means cell death in Latin. So just keep that in your brain. Now, secondly, when you start going into a longer fast, even after, I would say, when you hit like 16 hours, your body starts going through a detox process, and you're already lowering the toxin levels in your body, thus lowering the inflammation levels in your body. And if you stretch that out for 4 days, and you're just having water and sea salt, your body becomes very alkaline, and it really becomes efficient at getting rid of toxins and reducing inflammation. So in my mind, I'm like, I need to get rid of this inflammation as soon as possible, and I need to spark the healing process as quick as I can, and I'm pulling out all the stops when I do that. So after day 2, the inflammation in my arm was gone. It looked like a normal arm again. It was just hurt. It just hurt like right here where I had the fracture. But like my fingers, I could go like this again within 2 days. All the swelling in my wrist and hand had disappeared, and it was getting better. You came on, the accident happened on Saturday. You came on a Monday. That was like the first day of my fast. I think it was like 18 hours fasted when you got here, if I remember correctly. And I remember telling you that too, specifically. And it was the next day that I already noticed like the inflammation was going away. At the end of day 4, my brain function was through the roof. And I went and got x-rayed. I found I had a fracture. I was wearing a sling when I absolutely had to only. But literally after that 4-day fast was over, I was already doing like isometric holds. I have a light resistance band. And when I was working out in my friend Jill's garage, I'd go over there and I'd put it against the wall and I'd squeeze it, and I would just do like a bicep squeeze. And I'm like, it didn't hurt like heck, but I did it anyway. And I would squeeze that band, and I was doing isometric stuff, and I was doing very small range of motion stuff. And miraculously, I was able to hold a plank actually on my forearms with no effect on this at all, because it was on the radial side, which is here. And the ulna is your main bone right here. That was the one that's on the ground. So I started doing some of these exercises. I already started doing corrective exercises like 5 days after the injury occurred. But in addition to that, I started doing bone broth. I started doing, I got this raw calcium product from Whole Foods from Garden of Life was the company. And then I had this plant-based collagen as well. And I would alternate between all these things all day long. So, and I got this vitamin D bone builder complex from Amazon that was recommended to me from a friend of mine who's a doctor who had the exact same injury but worse a couple of years ago. And he recommended that to me. So basically, I was doing everything I can to heal and expedite the healing process as fast as I possibly could. And I kicked it off with the fast. 4 days. It wasn't even like it was no joke. I'm like, I'm going 4 days, that's it. And after my, appetite went away after like 16, 18 hours, I was fine. I sailed right through it. And that really, I think, laid the foundation for a good and a fast recovery for me. Because when you break a bone, you don't just have the bone to deal with. The bone is the least of your concern. That heals probably the fastest and quickest. It's the residual stuff that happens. I had this massive amount of swelling back here called effusion. And that is part of the inflammation problem right there. And that can take a long time to go away. And you always suffer some kind of connective tissue damage when you break a bone. Even if it's slight, it's still major. And connective tissue takes a long time to heal. So that's the only thing that's like, if anything bothers me right now, I can't fully extend my arm. When I really try to put it into extension, I feel a little bit of tightness right in here. And like, I feel a little bit of tension still around the joint area back here. And that's just residual connective tissue damage, soft tissue damage. It's always the soft tissue damage that you don't want to deal with. That's what the worst problem is when it comes to injuries. Bones heal. But when you have that soft tissue, it takes a long time. So anyway, I did all those things. And then I went right back to my 16-hour fasting schedule. And then every month after that, I fasted for 48 hours once a month, which I'll be doing another 48-hour fasting next week, unless I feel like going longer. And sometimes I get to 48 hours and I'm like, screw it, I'm going another day, or like, heck, I'm going 4 days. So that's basically all that in a nutshell, and that's why I do it. So basically, the bottom line, to answer your question, the medium of fasting helps detox. It helps reduce inflammation quickly. It helps your body feed off of dead, junky cells called autophagy, and then you get a massive stem cell dump when it's over with, which expedites the healing process. And you all know out there listening what stem cell therapy is. It's like one of the hottest topics in the world, and it has been for like 5 years now, and it keeps getting more recognition now. So you can pay $25,000, $35,000 to get a stem cell treatment for your elbow, or you can start doing four-day fasts once every quarter, and then 48-hour fasts in between once a month. And then you can follow a 16-8 fasting protocol. And that, my friends, is 5 seconds of information I just gave you. And you can happily, my Venmo is KevinRail-1. If you want to give me $1,000 for that information, please do. But I just taught you in 5 seconds how you can boost your own stem cells without having to pay 25 grand to get shots in your arm. That's how you do it.
Exactly. That's super, super interesting that you did that, because when you think about what modern medicine is going to have us do with a broken bone, I mean, we're going to think, I mean, you started doing some of those things like with bone broth and calcium and that stuff. You know, I was a director of food and beverage at a hospital for over 3 years. Right. And that's as 3 square meals as you can get, right? And it's going to be what you and I consider junk food, garbage. I mean, like, would never even eat. I mean, not even come close to eating what they, served in hospitals. And you went completely 180 degrees instead of saying, "Oh, I need some Jello and
nutrients, and I need to eat all day."
I've got to like have eggs and bacon and hash browns for breakfast, and I've got to have turkey with mashed potatoes and gravy, and then a burger and French fries, or whatever's on the whatever people can order from in-room dining now in hospitals. Is, I don't know if we should call that dining, right? Room service or patient meals, right? But completely opposite, of that. Now, Kevin, you're one of the most high energy people that I've met in a very, very long time. You get a lot of stuff done. We're going to talk about, because Tuesday is the most productive day of the week, right? And that's why this, and so, you are an early bird. You get up, you take care of business and get going. I mean, you obviously fast, for 16 hours a day. And you were even in the fasting documentary talking about that, was where I first saw you. And then when our friend Kimber introduced us together, I was like, I know him from somewhere. And then I traced it back. So tell me about, is there a morning routine that you have every day that you stack things together? And let's start with that.
Yeah, I have to. First thing I do is I roll out of bed. Sometimes I jump out, not always. Sometimes I crawl. I'm like,
what time? What time do you get out of
bed? Best case scenario, in a utopian world, I'd get up at 4 a.m. every day, but it's usually more like 4:30, quarter to 5, 4:40 sometimes. I have it like really cut down to the second on when my best time frame is to get up as far as what I need to get done in the morning is concerned. But best case scenario is I can get to bed at 9, up at 4 a.m. every day if I had a utopian world. And I aspire to get there someday, but I'm just not quite there yet. Just because I'm like, I have a lot of moving pieces in my life right now, and I've got a lot of projects going on. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have like all these startups happening, and that's just, there's certain things I have to do to keep, stay alive while I'm going after these big things I'm working on. But best case scenario, it's definitely before 5 a.m. So let's just say between 4:30 and 5, I like to get up. First thing I do is oil pulling. I go to my coconut oil. I take about a half tablespoon and I swish for about 20 minutes while I, shave my head and do all my other stuff. And then I often read in the morning. I have a I also have a, I'll just actually look it up right now. It's this Holy Bible app, and I read a Bible verse first thing in the morning. So I swish, I read a Bible verse, and then I'll go into a secondary reading, in which I'm reading this book right now. It's probably backwards to you.
No, it's not backwards. Mr. America?
Okay, it's called Mr. America. That's shiny.
Right.
There it is. Mr. America by Mark Adams. So it's a memoir of this guy named Bernard McFadden, who was a precursor to Charles Atlas. This dates back to history. This guy, you think I'm crazy. That guy, I don't even scratch the surface to what this guy did back in like the 1880s through the 1920s and 30s. He was probably a pioneer of fasting. You're never going to hear about it though, because he's kind of behind the scenes now, but he was like a bazillionaire back then. He had this magazine called Physical Culture, which was a crazy magazine. Yeah. And he was selling like $30 million a month of this magazine in like 1908. So just think about that money. Yeah, think about the amount of money then, transfer that to now. You're talking like billions now, probably $2 billion.
Right.
So anyway, I do oil pulling. I do read a Bible verse. I just focus. I don't like say Om, and I don't sit and like quiet my mind and meditate. When I'm up in the morning, my mind starts to like accumulate, like the energy starts to expand. I don't want to shut it back down and quiet. I reserve the meditation type stuff for before I go to sleep at night. I go the opposite direction. In the morning, I'm trying to do things to get myself woken up. So I do that, and then either I go right to the gym and I work out, and I do a minimum of an hour and a half workout, or I'll go train a client or two, then I'll go and work out next, all of which is on a fasted state. So today I had an early client, and I worked with him first, then I went to the gym, and I was about 13, let's say it started at 7. No, I was 12, 13. Yeah, I was about 13 and a half hours fasted when I started my workout. And right now my buzzer just went off like when we started. So I'm now 16 plus hours fasted. And basically it's like this. I have to work out first thing in the morning or my first available chance to work out. So if I have an early client and I can't work out first thing, then I work out immediately after that client is done. And then I work out. And that's a good and bad, because the good news is my fast is expanded even longer, and I can work out in a longer fasted state. So I'm going to have a little bit higher release of human growth hormone, because after 12 hours, HGH starts to rise and insulin is plummeting down. So that's a big benefit of working out in a fasted state. And then the longer your fast is when you start working out, you become even more fat adapted too. So I know for a fact I'm fat adapted. It's not even a question. I've been doing it for 20 years. So it kind of works in that sequence. So it's oil pulling, it's a little bit of reading, it's a little bit of getting my brain sharp, and then it's workout first thing, and it's beefcake workout, or it's going to be like a circuit cardio core workout, which I did today. And then that's my whole morning ritual right there. And it's not really super fancy. It's not like writing quotes down in a journal. It's not like super meditation and deep breathing or any kind of that stuff. I know everybody's got their own jam, their own gig, and that's great. And I think whatever works for you is great. Whatever works for you, use it. And that's what works for me, and that's what I use. And if I go any more deeper layers, and I do meditation, and I do setting your drishti and writing things in my notebook and my journal, that's just going to take my whole morning up. I don't have time for that. I'm a fast-paced guy. I got to get in and get out and get things moving, just like you said.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because we do a lot of things in the mornings to really to get us moving, right? Yes. Cup of coffee, tea, you know, those type of things. And I, first of all, my message is always the same thing, which is find what works for you, right? And if that works for you, that works for you, right? Yeah. Like for me, you know, even though the book Miracle Mornings doesn't have, you know, breathing exercises, and that could be part of your mindfulness or your silence, right, where you're doing that. I mean, I've dedicated, those are different for me, you know, meditation, you know, and breathing are two different things. And the reason that breathing is such an important part of me, because I practice the Wim Hof method, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you are Wim Hof.
Yeah. So that's the cold showers, and we both live in Park City, Utah, which is, you know, 8,000 feet. There's lots of snow, 150 inches of snow a year on a good year, right? You know, yeah. And so we have plenty of cold exposure that we can get for. I mean, it was what, 2 days ago, or it was snowing, or maybe yesterday it was snowing a little bit. Yeah, Sunday, and so that's why I do breathing, because and I was starting to get this. You know, like adult onset asthma attacks and things like that, and sleep apnea. And so I really focused on those type of things and really learned a lot about the breath, which is super, super important. We don't really think about it and as much as we should. And really, shift our breathing into manual and really control and breathe through our nose the right way and breathe properly while we're sleeping and that stuff. And I know you know the importance of those things, but that's important to me. So that's what I had to come into my morning routine there. So how do you, is there like an evening routine that you do that kind of reverses this to help you? You said you are more mindful at night and do that. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. I continually read as well, but oftentimes I'll work on creating workouts and working on some projects that I didn't get a chance to get to during the day. Some of the forthcoming things I'm doing, which, I make kombucha, first of all. So
right.
I have to do that.
Amazing.
That's it's like a pastime for me, and it's like an escape. And I also play music as well. You probably saw my guitars when you were here, and I haven't played music in a while because I've been too busy, but I try to focus my mind on something that's like not almost like no-brainer stuff. Like it's way left of center to what I'm doing. So making kombucha is like a science experiment, and it's like writing music. It's like an art form to me. So I often do that in the evening, and I come up with different blends and stuff like that. I take notes in my notebook and stuff. So I'll work on kombucha, and then I'll read more again from what I didn't feel like I try to get like 10 pages read a day. So if I have 5 pages in the morning, I know I have to read 5 pages at night, and then right before I go to bed, I'll close my eyes, and then I just think back in reverse order of my whole day. So I'm like, what just happened? Okay, I just read, and then I made some kombucha, then I had dinner, and then I played kickball, and then I did this, and then I went for a hike, and then I worked on this, and I did this, and I go in reverse order. And what that does is it helps relax my mind, and it helps me get into a slumber state and fall asleep easier. And then I'll go through my entire day from the time I got into bed until the time I got up in the morning in reverse. And then if I'm drowsy enough, I fall asleep. And if not, then I focus on a minimum of 3 things, but it's usually 5 things that I was thankful for that happened during the day. And I focus on them. And I scan around. I'm like, what happened today? What was I thankful for? Oh, well, I was thankful for the fact that we actually had a clear blue sky today. This would be yesterday. Clear blue sky today with no smoke, because we've had smoke for 90 days in a row, and it's driving me crazy. And it reminds me of back east, and it reminds me of why I defected from back east, because I couldn't stand the haze and humidity in the summer and the gnats and the bugs. So I'm very thankful that we had a crystal clear blue sky today. I'm thankful for the vibrant colors on the leaves. It cheered me up when I looked at them. I'm thankful for the clean air I was breathing. I'm thankful for this conversation I had with my friend Doug today, because it was very enlightening and powerful. And then I think back to all these things. Before I know it, I'm like rattling off 5 things, 6 things, 7 things, 8 things, 10 things. And I just keep thinking about one after the other, and then I eventually just fall asleep. So that's pretty much it. So it's like some people keep a gratitude journal. I used to actually write in a journal at night, and I call it a gratitude journal, and I would write at least 3 things in it that I was thankful for during the day. But what ended up happening with that was I came up with 5 things, 6 things, 7 things, and I was getting excited about the things that I was grateful for, because it showed so much, like there was so much clarity and so much hope, and like I was looking forward to so much stuff by writing all these things I was grateful about. I'm like, oh, I got this going on. I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be awesome. And I started getting fired up before bed, and it had an opposite effect. But I found out, though, is when I parked it and I literally just closed my eyes and I thought back to all the things I was grateful for and thankful for, that helped put me to sleep. So that's kind of what I do at nighttime.
Right. The science of gratitude is really, really important. And what I've heard people talk about, and what I've read, and what actually I practice, is starting with gratitude in the morning. And maybe that's, it jacks you up so much because there's so much hope and so many things to be grateful for. I'm actually working on, with a business partner of mine here in Park City, we're working on developing a longevity primer, 100-day longevity primer. And one of those is starting the day with gratitude, and just one thing that you're grateful for today, and asking yourself that's one of the 3 questions. That is the first question you ask yourself in the morning. And it's so important, right? Because and even the simple things, right? Clean air, right? Being happy, and grateful for the fact that you're right. Because if you go for a hike or a mountain bike ride, or go outside to exercise, which most of your videos, you are outside, you're exercising, you're inhaling that smoke and the smoke particles. That's not really helping your lungs or anything in terms of that. So, back to productivity, what do you think, you have a tremendous mindset when it comes to being productive, right? You're like literally boom, boom, you're one thing after another. What do you think is, spurred that? Is it something from your childhood, or something that you've come across as an adult or as an entrepreneur that's really kind of helped you be so productive?
part of it is it's just an innate ability that I've always had in my body. And that goes all the way back to when I was a young kid. I've always been really high energy, but it was a part of it also was my father was in the military, and he had this really high standard for me and my brother. He wanted us to be like active. He didn't want us to sit around and watch TV all day. He didn't want us to be schmoes. He didn't want us to have pot bellies. He used to use the word pot belly all the time, which I used to think was hysterical when I was a little kid. And that stuck in my brain that I need to be active and I need to be fit and I need to not disappoint him. And then as I got older and I started having some jobs and I'm very like, my mind is very sharp and I see a lot of things. I see beyond the fourth wall, I call it, a lot, because I'm psychic and I'm empathic at the same time. And I look around oftentimes and I see how people bunk the system a lot and people get away with murder in jobs, in businesses, in corporations. A lot of companies are crooked. A lot of people are crooked. And I don't look for the crooked in people. I look for the good in people. This is going to sound a little contradictory, but just bear with me. So I always say to myself, I want to make sure I'm 100% not what I abhor in the world. And when I see people cutting the system and making buku bucks and screwing people over and lying and deceiving and like acting like things are one way and they're completely the opposite direction, I try to far exceed that and extend myself the opposite way and make sure that I'm never, ever close to being considered one of those people. And I do that with everything I do. And I do it with my work, my workouts, when I'm on camera. There's going to be no difference between when I'm in camera right now than when you come and visit me in person. I act exactly the same. I talk exactly the same all the time. I pull no punches. And I am as fit and active as I look all the time. And that's it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But just don't point your finger at me and tell me I'm doing something wrong. Just like you said before, do what works for you in the morning. Well, if I don't work for you, then get me out of your life. I don't need to be in your life. Just get out. Right. So I just kind of developed all this stuff over time. It evolved, really. And I don't want to say like I'm a chosen one or anything like that, but I feel like I just have this, I don't know. It's like, I feel like I was given these certain abilities and skills and these gifts, and I just run with them and I roll with them. And for me, being on point and honoring your promises, honoring your wishes, texting people back when they text you, returning phone calls, that all is, to some people, that's small stuff. To me, it's very important stuff. Those little things are the big things, just like you said, and just like I said. I like clear air. I like blue skies. I like bright sunlight. I like being able to make it home from my friend's wedding 3 weeks ago, way out in Camas, at 12 o'clock at night when I was super drowsy. I like to make it home in one piece. I'm thankful for that. I got in bed that night and I thank God that I made it home safely. Those are things that people overlook every single day because they're too worried and they're too worried about being greedy or getting shiny things or making themselves look bigger than they are or getting all this money and all this cash. Where's all that stuff going to be when you die? Nowhere. Right. You can't take that with you. You can leave a legacy though, and you can be known as a good human being when you leave this earth. And I want to make sure that I do that. And my father died when I was 19 years old. I saw him take his last breath. He was super strict. He was borderline abusive to me and my brother. But he left an impact when he left, and he left a legacy. And there's not one person who had a bad thing to say about him after he died, and it's still to this day that's the case. And still when I go back home to Pennsylvania, everyone still talks about him highly. And I want to make sure that when I die, if it's today or tomorrow or 50 years or 100 years from now, I want to make sure that that exact same thing happens. And I don't want one person to have a bad thing to say about me. And by being scheduled and being organized and having all my, pardon my French, having all my shit together every single day and honoring everything I do and say, that's going to help. So in my mind, I'm always like, I get really nervous sometimes that I insulted someone or I offended someone. And the only people that I insult or offend are those who need to be insulted or offended or need to be knocked down a few pegs or notches, like the Monsanto Corporation and Pfizer and all these people that screw people over and lie to them and deceive them and all these other things. And you might have to censor what I just said, and I don't care. Again,
we're live, man. We're live.
Good. I just tell like it is. I tell like it is. That's it.
Yeah.
So I just like to be genuine all the time, 100% of the time. So to me, I can get a lot more done in a day and I can be much more efficient if I get up at the crack ass of dawn and get up early, work out. Working out is my coffee or tea. Your coffee or tea is your energy boost. My workout is my energy boost. And if I'm going to do any kind of caffeinated thing, it's going to be later on. It's going to be 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. Never past 3 though, because God Almighty, I'm super sensitive to caffeine and all the products involved.
Right.
But I get these like, people send me things to test a lot, like supplements and different things like that. And because I'm so well schooled with like nutrition and diet and fasting and all those other things. I'm like, all right, I'll try that in my eating window, not my fasting window. And I'll do a supplement every now and then, like a a pre-workout formula, but I'll take it in the middle of the afternoon, not like before my workout, because I want to go in there fasted, right?
Right.
And some companies are now coming up with supplements that don't break your fast and you can take in a workout. And I've experimented with them as well. And I kind of see how my body feels and what I go through with those. But I try to just get as much done from darkness until like noon as I can. So then I have a little bit of time to go play in the afternoon, go for a hike, go for a bike ride, go for a snow walk in the winter. I didn't get a ski pass this year because of all the discombobulation that's going on at Vail. It just sounds like it's going to be a train wreck. And I don't want to have to schedule when I ski a week ahead of time because I don't know. The weather changes so fast out here. It's sunny right now. It could be snowing in an hour. So if I'm going to say, I'm free next Thursday at 10 o'clock, I'm going to pencil myself in to ski next week at Vail, and I book it. And then it rains next Thursday, I'm going to be mad. Right. And I'm going to miss out on powder days because there's going to be all this gap in between and a powder day comes in. Well, that's one reason why I didn't get a ski pass. And the other reason why is because this trend of like drought, I'm still not convinced it's not going to end. It's been going on for 3 months now, 4 months. And we just got a little bit of rain and snow the other day. That's the first precipitation we've had since like June 29th or something, which it was very similar, eerily similar to this pattern because it was like a rain snow thing. And who's to say that this pattern isn't going to continue and it's going to be like all ice this winter? So I got to find something else to do. But anyway, I try to get up early. I try to get it done. And that boosts my energy. It just gives me like this great feeling to get my workout in first thing in the morning. And then I got plenty of energy the rest of the day. And like I said, I try to hustle as hard as I can until like 12 to 1. And then I try to go out and do a movement break, even if it's just a 30-minute power walk, or I go to the park and spin my eating clubs, or I go for a bike ride now while the weather's still nice. That's what I'll do. And then I'll come back in, I'll do some odds and ends. And then like I said, I'll do some kombucha and I'll do my other things.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, we've threatened each other with going on a hike together. Maybe we can go on a snow walk together, right?
Make that happen. Yeah, one of these days, we've got to make that happen.
Yeah, we've both been so busy working on all these things. The other day I was listening to something on YouTube, Tom Bilyeu's show called Impact Theory. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
I have.
And a commercial came on, and it was whoever owns Roundup now. I think Monsanto's actually Bayer. Bayer. Yeah, Bayer Aspirin owns it. They're a German company, right? Mm-hmm. And it was really I can't believe that. I don't know if Tom Bilyeu's team is even looking at this, but allowing Monsanto or Roundup to be an advertisement on someone who would never even eat food that is, on there, or eat food that's been sprayed with that. But they said in this, and don't believe it, folks, if you ever get this, pop up in your feed, that there's been 3 studies that proves that Roundup is safe, right? Huh. And
show me the evidence.
Yeah, well, and we know that's glyphosate, right? Which is what the source chemical of that is. And man, I can't even. I was like just astonished. I listened to it just to see what they were going to say, right? Because I'm like going, this is so crazy, right? Because I can't believe they're still trying to push that on our culture. And Zach Bush, MD, who's really started this Farmer's Footprint documentary and series, talks about glyphosate. More of it's made in China than in America, and more of it comes from us spraying it on our driveways than it is on crops, right? So it's just our whole world's being affected by that. And I just saw that the other day, and you mentioned, holding them accountable, right? And I just wanted to to say that there's so much packed into to kill a K-Rails, right? I mean, you got so much going on, man. Is there any projects? I know you've been working on stuff behind the scenes. Is there anything you can share with us now, or any new releases coming out?
Yeah, I have a project called My Inferno Body. I actually just had a Zoom call right before this started with my business partners on that. My friend Jill Molshan lives right down the road from me, a mile away. She's involved with it, and my friend Jason lives in Grenada in the Caribbean. And I met him about 1.5 years ago, and we started kind of working together, and we specialize in weight loss for women over 35 years old, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, or women who are just trying to lose weight for the first time, or who have roller coastered up and down, or who are absolutely completely brand new to exercise and fitness, and they just want to make changes and they want to get back into better shape again. And we have this huge program coming out probably in about a week or so. We're going to officially launch it. And I have a lot of background working with women in that demographic. So does Jill, and so does Jason as well. And I'm really stoked about it because I think it can really change. Like, fasting is such a big deal these days and a big thing, but there's no really good concrete direction to go with it. A lot of people just jump on board because they read an article or they see a video on Facebook and say, I'm going to start doing intermittent fasting. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, what's the difference between intermittent fasting and time restricted eating? And then I get that response. I'm like, exactly. So we teach people, the women that we're working with, exactly how to get into fasting, how to do it, how to utilize it to lose weight, how to utilize it to balance your hormones, build muscle, maintain muscle, gain muscle, turn switches, help slow the aging process down, all the biohacking stuff we talked about. Fasting is huge about biohacking. And we teach dietary diversity. I teach people how to do that. I have a different, a whole different nutrition plan in there. There's like a cookbook involved. Jill is like a hammer when it comes to recipes. You are too, because you had your background in the health field, but she has celiac disease. So everything she does is gluten-free, and she comes up with these amazing recipes. I've had a lot of her stuff. Fantastic. So we have this whole package thing we're coming out. We have all these different options that are going to be available. And that's one of the smoking guns I'm working on right now. And I want this thing to go, best case scenario is it goes global. We're going to be launching it in the Caribbean next week, but we're going to be launching it in America as well at the same time simultaneously. And I have another thing I'm working on called Fitness for 5, which is probably going to be ready to go in about a week or two as well. And that's going to be a $5 per month virtual fitness app, basically. So it's going to be a related to a workout programs you can do outside the gym, basically, for $5 a month. And you can build your own workouts, and we have tips in there on food and diet and tricks to lose weight faster, and like all these other fun stuff is going to be on there. Interviews with experts and different things like that. So those are 2 things. And then I've got my kombucha business that I'm finishing the marketing plan for and the executive summary right now. And we're going to go after funding for that. And we're going to try to get a warehouse here in Park City somewhere in a periphery and get that thing up and running as well. So,
wow. Yeah, not much going on. Just 3 businesses launching within, a month of each other or something. Yeah, exactly. So you're probably the perfect person to have on a productivity show, right? So you can talk about that, how productive you are. Because you're probably less than your single digit body fat percentage, right? And doing all that stuff too. Have coaching clients, and you're putting videos out every day on your group and asking questions. You're just totally crushing it. So
yeah, it's like, well, I do have a tip for that. For any of you that want to get into this whole supercharge your productivity thing, I can't stress this enough. Exercise is quintessential. Without it, I wouldn't be doing a damn thing right now. I'd be flat on my back. And I've got to have my exercise first thing in the morning. But in addition to that, always take movement breaks in the afternoon. Even if it's literally, if you're at your computer for more than 2 hours and you realize it's been 2 hours, put your computer down, leave it on if you want, and literally go outside for a 5-minute walk. The bipedal nature of opposing limbs moving is going to refresh your brain. Plus, you're going to get some fresh air. You're going to breathe it in. You're going to breathe spores in from the dirt, from the soil, from the petrichor if it's raining, from the leaves. The smell of leaves in autumn, that is like amazing. I love that smell. You know what I'm talking about, when they kind of dry and they smell cool. I remember that from fond memories back in Pennsylvania. Just those little movement breaks. Learn how to do the Indian clubs and spinning clubs for 30 seconds standing up. Just do some walk in place. Get out of your chair. Hold a plank. Do a couple yoga poses. 5 minutes. That's it. Schedule those little movement breaks in. They are so quintessential at refreshing your brain and your body that it's unbelievable. And you're not going to believe what kind of impact that can have on your day.
Right. You asked the question the other day about how many strict push-ups somebody can do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like,
did you see my follow-up video yesterday?
Yeah. I haven't watched the whole video. No, I was busy getting caught up on, starting a new live show. You've got to, try to figure out some stuff and things like that. Right. All the technical things and stuff like that. And so anyway, I have, and this, comes from a combination of things. One, the blue zones, the people who are for people who don't know what blue zones are, they're the areas in the world that have the highest per capita of people or concentrations of people over 100 years old. And they don't have any designated, they don't go to gyms, they don't run marathons, they don't have any dedicated exercise type things. I'm sure in Okinawa, Japan, there's some people who practice martial arts, right? So that's kind of a movement, but their lifestyles are designed in all 5 areas of the world that have this to get up and move about every 20 minutes, right? And what I have done is I've set a timer on my phone that goes off every 30 minutes.
That's awesome.
So 6 days a week, it goes off every 30 minutes. And I do every 2 hours on Sunday because I'm typically out doing something in the yard on Sundays or with the family, and I'm moving anyway. But what happens is I use this in combination with something similar to the Evil Russian push-up program,
Hmm.
where you could every 30 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, depending on the day. But I've built my own basically around a 30-minute to 1 hour program.
Uh-huh.
So like this focus for me this week or right now is doing step up, weighted step up, like lunges, right, where you're doing step ups. So I
Hmm.
go grab two 30-pound dumbbells, put on my shoulders, and step up independently with each leg. And I do a certain percentage every half hour or every hour. And I got to go down the stairs to do that, to get to where the dumbbells are, and do those things. And so I'm doing that, 6 days a week. I'm doing that type of movement. And I haven't been in a dedicated gym, like a gym membership in, 20 years. I haven't
Wow.
haven't been in a gym. So mostly calisthenics, dumbbells. No, I did P90X, which is, pull up bars and,
Mhm.
dumbbells and things like that. And
Body
I
weight.
mean, I have kettlebells. I have several kettlebells. I swing 55s. I had a 60 and a 70. 71-pound kettlebell. And so you can do almost everything. You can do everything you need without being part of a gym, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My shoulder
right.
right there.
Yeah,
That's my
exactly.
my
You
home stock of kettlebells, and that's half of my stock. I got a ton more. I have them
right,
parked at the gym, and I got two maces back there too.
right. Mesas, you use Indian clubs. I mean, you do.
Yep. Homemade
I've
goddess.
been using some bands, and I have a
Mhm.
weighted
They're
vest. I
great.
got all good stuff, and
Mhm.
I love tapping into our strength curve, like doing push-ups, banded push-ups,
Mhm.
right? Because it gets harder as you go out, right? And so it's really, really cool. And I'm working on a planche push-up progression right now, and pistol squat progression. Those are things that I'm working on.
Those are
Um,
both brutally hard.
yes,
I got long legs, and I've always vowed that I was going to practice figuring out how to do pistols, and I know how to train to do pistols. I'm just too lazy. I need to
right.
I need to get rid of that. I got to do it. And you mentioned that push-up challenge. Is that Pablo Satsouline's push-up challenge?
It is. Yep.
Because I did that years ago, and then I crafted a spin-off of what he did and developed my own. And I remember he recommended doing them on your knuckles. And what you
Right.
do is to start it out, you get out of bed and you get on the ground, you do as many push-ups as you possibly can, and then you base your percentages off of that. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, but you only do your max on Monday or your
Right.
first day of the week, right? You do your max
Yeah.
and you base your percentages off the max.
Yes.
So when the last time that I did that was when I was furloughed, right? When I first got furloughed and I was in self quarantine. It was, so 14 days is a 14-day program, and I could, at the time, I did like 45 as was my max amount of push-ups. And that's also part of the Wim Hof breathing method, where you do push-ups without breathing, right? And I can, I've done, on average, I probably do 45 to 55 push-ups without taking a breath, right, after doing this breathing exercise. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not Wim Hof. You have to go do your own research on how to do this. But this morning, right before we got on this live call, a live show, I did the same thing, and I did with my hands down, right, as close as I can get with a pseudo planche. And I did 35 without breathing, pseudo planche, and then I did another 9 after I took like 3 deep breaths, and then I was breathing everyone like normal. So 44 of those, and I've noticed that like my biceps are getting bigger because I work as a stabilizer in that move, and my upper body's getting bigger because I'm using more weight, that way in an effort to get to that point. But your body and your muscles are so alkaline from breathing in all the oxygen, and exhaling in a certain way, that you're able to do more than what you would do normally if you were breathing every time,
Mhm.
with that. So I use those things in combination with what I'm working on. I haven't, like you said, the pistols are one way, you don't want to do them, or haven't done them because don't want to work that hard. For
Well,
me,
it's not really
yeah,
that. I'm just lazy, and I got really
right,
long legs and arms, so it's like one arm push-ups, one pistols, planche push-ups. All those things you mentioned are things I would love to, and handstands, freestanding handstands without my feet against
right,
the wall. All that stuff, I would love to work on more. I have to pick and choose my battles as far as
right.
what I have time to work on. So
Well,
that's fine.
Paval's got that book, the
Quick
Naked
way to say it,
Warrior,
sir.
right?
Naked
Yeah,
warrior.
well, the Naked Warrior, right, where it's basically progressing to do a one-arm push-up and a pistol
Mhm.
squat, right? So I figured if if I could, do a paunch push-up, right, and a pistol squat. It would be very similar to that, right? And so, and I do kettlebell swings and I do other core workouts. I'm loving an ab wheel right now. I mean, if you've ever really gone deep on an ab wheel, it works your core like you'd never have experienced. And I actually did for every hour on the hour for 6 weeks, ab wheel. 6 weeks. Every hour on the hour.
Did you jackknives, like full standing jackknives?
I haven't got to full yet but just on my knees, knees, right? So my son and I decided we were going to do it, right? And he's 18, right? So we so you had to set your max. So both of us did 20. I couldn't do one for 2 days after that. I was so sore, right?
Wow.
So then I had to back up and I was like, well, let's do every hour on the hour. Let me do like 5, just 5 every day for like a week. And then I did 10 for the next week. And then I set a new max, and then I actually started the program, right? Where I was doing them every hour one day and every 30 minutes the next day when my alarm goes off on my phone, right? And I do other things like Ido Portal squats every hour on the hour, try to work on those type of things or hanging. And I'm always just kind of getting up and moving and doing that type of stuff, right? And but 6 weeks of ab rollers on your knees, it's every hour on the hour, and some days doing it every 30 minutes. It's that will build your core. It's like the crazy. I can just get up now randomly and just do 40 of them and just be fine. No pain, no nothing, and do that stuff. And it's like a whole upper body workout. You're really working hip flexors to get up, especially when you get fatigued. You're working your lats to get yourself back up too, right? When you're doing that, it is just an amazing workout, right? When you do those things. So in combination, but those are the things I'm working on now. So.
Well, I remember that I did that push-up routine, the Pavels, back in like 2003, I think it was, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And there was one day I had to do 6 push-ups every 15 minutes from the time I got up till the time I went to bed. And I ended up doing like 1 million push-ups. And I mean, that last one, like every 15 minutes it was. I went to work that day. I was working for a glass sculptor at the time. And I had these pieces of styrofoam next to me because I was doing them on my knuckles.
Right.
I do call him recommending that. But after like day 3, my knuckles were skinned and they started bleeding. They were dry. They were cracked. And I'm like, man, that can't be good. So that day came where I had to do 6 push-ups every 15 minutes. And I worked for this glass sculptor from 6 to 2 in the afternoon. I had like a 10-minute break where I whipped some food down. Then I went right to the gym afterward and worked out. But on this day, I didn't actually go to the gym because I was at the gym all day long, basically. So
right.
I was definitely getting up at 4 a.m. then but the job that I worked at was a good 30-minute drive away. It was far away, and I had to be there kind of early. So I got out of bed, I did my push-ups, and then I did 4 sets before I even left the house. And then when I got there, I'm I drove for 30 minutes, so I got to compensate by doing 12 on this next rep because I had to compensate kind of until I got there. And then literally 8 hours all day, every 15 minutes, I just kept looking at my watch. Boom, 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 6 push-ups. And then the same thing. I drove home, and then I did 12, and then right until the time I went to bed. And when I went to bed, I was like, oh, I was destroyed.
Yeah,
gone.
It's I've done the math on some of these. When you're setting a max at 50 push-ups, right? And you're doing a percentage, even if you're doing like you said 6 every 15 minutes, you're doing hundreds of push-ups in a day.
Yeah.
Hundreds. Yeah. And when you start doing them back to back, right? I'm gonna do this 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it's intense. It really is. Really is. Yeah. So we're let's probably start wrapping this up. Where can people find you online, Kev?
You can find me at I'm on Facebook, Kevin Rail. I'm on Instagram, trainer_rail. You can always just punch my name in, Kevin Rail, Rail, like iron rail. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it often, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I have a website currently called restoreyourfitness.com. That's going to be closing shortly over the next month or two. And I don't know exactly what my site is going to be called with the My Infernal Body project. It's probably going to be myinfernalbody.com. But if you just follow me on any one of those social media platforms, you can get all the information you need because it's all going to be there available.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, it's been amazing. And I think we could talk for hours, right? You and I. Yeah. It's we're hitting the 50-minute mark on this. And so I just wanted to maybe save some for another show down the road, right? So we can get back on. This has been an amazing conversation. So, Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a blast.
Yes,
Good.
I just reached out to you. I think on Sunday. Here we are on Tuesday, right? So I really appreciate the short notice, right? It's been
Yep, you
amazing.
bet. It's been
All
awesome.
right, take care. Thanks again. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. Oh, that's tomorrow. Yeah, here we go. I just wanted to say thanks to Kevin Rail for coming on the show. It's been an amazing conversation. And also, I want to really talk about what's happening tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is going to be Wacky Wednesday. And I'm going to talk about the most mentally challenging and physically challenging test that I've done over myself. Right now, I'm on day 23 of 28 days. And I've done this every day over these days, and it's been a challenge. It's been amazing. I feel better than I can remember. I can breathe better than I can remember, even with all the breathing exercises I do. This one thing is lower inflammation in my sinuses and my body. It rivals fasting, and I will be happy to talk about it in detail tomorrow. So thanks for joining in. And if it's your Friday, enjoy your weekend. Cheers.